This is our Talk to Me spoiler review. And I will also say, because I really want to have this conversation with you, maybe an ending explainer, because I'm really
Okay.
curious to get your take on the end of the movie and also what the end of the movie could tease what maybe lies ahead for this potential franchise.
Okay.
You look so confused, and it makes me really excited to ask you my
I
big brain
so
question.
yeah. So I'm literally just doing a really quick search on my review, so I have like my thoughts
Okay.
up. But like, yeah, no, I'm good to go. Yeah, I'm just trying to like, because I remember the ending and
Yeah.
like, so okay, ask me
I
your
mean,
question
I'm
so I can. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I mean, like, I'm like a little bit of a cheater in this scenario because I've seen the movie too many times. But
Right.
do we want to just jump to the ending, or do you want to toss in any spoiler thoughts before we do that?
I mean,
I don't care.
did we talk to me at all? Did we have a quick
We did.
review?
We
We
On
did.
a previous episode we did non-spoiler thoughts, but I guess before we get to the
Okay.
ending, I want to further highlight a couple of performances that we couldn't lean into that heavy because some of their biggest moments do connect to some of the biggest spoilers in the movie. And in particular, Joe fucking Bird. My
Okay.
God,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that performance is something else. I thought every single possession performance in this movie was like top notch. You do not get better. Sophie Wilde just like sets the bar super high, and then
Yeah. Okay.
everybody, including her, continues to raise it up and up and up throughout the movie. The scene that like took my breath away, made me sit there and say, I cannot believe what I'm watching right now, is the scene where Riley gets possessed. They let him stay there too long, and it becomes extremely violent with him smashing his head, ultimately smashing Jade's hand. And then on top of that, that kind of behavior only gets worse as the film continues. And yeah, there's a lot of wonderful in camera effects works happening there with great makeup design and all that wonderful stuff. But my God, that does not work nearly as well unless you have an actor who is capable of doing
Yeah.
all of that, like believably and then some. And he just goes above and beyond in every respect. Like, dear God, let that kid get noticed because he deserves like so much more going forward.
Yeah, and it's such a great moment because like that's I won't say first what the fuck moment, but like that is
Yeah.
that turning point of the film where all of a sudden it goes from like, all right, these are idiot kids playing with like you know a TikTok social media game and with the dead, to oh fuck, like
Yeah.
this is serious. Like we knew it was serious the whole time, but showing it so viscerally, so violently, like I will agree with you, like that kind of stuff is where Talk to Me is absolutely the best. I think that for me, like if we're gonna talk like spoiler talk and stuff like that, like the movie is so good until then. That I think that's my turning point, where that point is so fucking good and nothing else after it lives to me lives up to that, and where the narrative goes, it's not. I don't think it's as strong.
So I somewhat understand what you're saying because I think the first half of the movie is where the really catchy high concept excels.
Mhm.
Like in
Mhm.
particular, leading into that really violent scene, I think one of the best energy boosts and probably one of my favorite moments of the whole movie is when it starts that montage where they're all doing the possession in Jade and Riley's house, and that music cue kicks in. Every single time I watch the movie and that happens, I'm like all revved up again, and I love it. So I think the first half of the movie excels with this concept being really cool, and as a viewer, you not being able to get enough of it. The thing with a high concept like that, though, is it's only justified via strong character arcs. And also by showing the dangers of tapping into that high concept, or in this particular case, tapping into the high that it gives these characters. That's what
Yeah.
the second half of the movie is all about. It's about the vulnerability that comes with doing something like that. And yeah, it's not as fun and energetic, but it is still deeply emotional, and it is absolutely vital to the film having emotional weight in the end. And in particular, I will get into this, I guess, in a minute, but in particular, having that big finish for Mia meaning anything.
Yeah, I guess so. For me, where it veers is just I agree with you 100%. That high concept is phenomenal in the first half of the film, and that is why it succeeds. You are 100% correct. They like, you know, you have these fucking YouTube guys directing this horror movie that is something that is revolutionary in a way. And where it goes after that, to me, I don't think it takes a step back because the character arcs aren't successful, I guess to say, or things of that nature. I think it's more, it just feels really fucking familiar. After it goes into that back half territory, it feels like just so many other trauma-based horror films I have seen as of late. And like I don't get the level of ingenuity that I saw in the first half. I feel like there's a stark contrast between that first half and that second half. I feel like familiarity sets in, and I was never into those character arcs as much as I wanted to be based on how they were set up in the first half. That like so I agree with you that you do need something of that nature on the back half to show the gravity. You need the characters to feel something and consequences and things of that nature. I just don't think Talk to Me was as good at delivering on those aspects as it was the beginning by any means.
Okay. I mean,
And this is a movie I like. I want to make sure,
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
like I always want to like preface this by saying like Talk to Me is a movie I like. Like it is a solid horror film this year. Like I want to make sure that's out there.
So yes, stark contrast between the first half and the second half of the film. The second half seems to have worked differently for both of us. To lean into why I think it works so well, and also that particular ending, and just to figure out our interpretations of it.
Mhm.
So the idea that even though Mia makes tons of bad decisions that ultimately put her friends at risk, the
Yeah.
fact that they're all justified and I can understand why she makes them is absolutely vital. Like I am sitting there and I know, do not let Riley stay connected for that short period of time that they determine for him, or even like the
Yeah.
standard amount of time. I'm
Yep.
sitting there and I'm like, this is a bad idea. Mia, do not let this happen. But at the same time, the movie well establishes how destroyed she is by the loss of her mother. And who can blame her for thinking that's really her mother and wanting to stay connected to her? And then you also have to consider the fact that in the previous possession scene, she was connected for too long. And all of that is kind of seeping into her in a way where I think it's just producing one bad decision after the next. It's snowballing basically. And you know, with the parallels that the movie has to drug use, I feel like that is a very understandable path for her to go down, where she gets this feeling. And you know, I think the feeling of a quick fun high is different for her because of what she winds up tapping into in terms of her personal connection with her mother. But it just leans into the idea of it building and building and becoming more dangerous and more dangerous along the way, ultimately justifying the fact that the movie has her do something absolutely terrible in the third act of the film, where we should all be sitting there saying like, no, like you did a dumb and now you hurt one of the people who's closest to you. But the movie kind of earned the right to have its main character do that.
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing the storytelling itself.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I do agree the storytelling is concise and like the way it goes, like yeah, I understand all the motivations and stuff like that. I think it's just more it loses me in the sense where it becomes another derivative of like the further and like another way of doing this storytelling that it again, like for me it's not the story that exists, it's not the intent behind it, it's not that stuff, it's more the execution. It's more you're giving me something that like again, it just did not like I was as you were talking, I was just trying to read back my review and kind of like go on what I was thinking. Like it just momentum slows for me. Like when it goes into that back half, like momentum slows down. I don't think the character arcs are dealt with in this with the immense gravity that I wanted them to be. Like obviously, again, like you're reading them on a different degree than I am. Also, like this is something that I definitely want to rewatch at some point to really see it again. Because I saw it at South by, obviously, so it's a little while ago, and like with a bunch of other movies. But it just I keep going back to like kind of what I wrote, and I wanted to like it so much more. Like that was my reaction coming away. Like my reaction wasn't the pure unbridled excitement. My reaction was like, "Fuck, that first half was so good. Why don't I like that second half as much?" Like that was
because it's scary and sad and it's dark.
I like scary, sad, and dark. The Dark
I,
and the Wicked, like go down the list of all those movies that like do scary, sad, and dark very well. I just don't think this is doing anything
I
that
will
makes me feel as momentous. Yeah, yeah. Go.
I will say I don't think it feels like a copy paste of something like The Further, or those things
Yeah,
are
it's not a
things
copy
that
paste, but
I've seen, not copy paste. Maybe I
yeah.
shouldn't have said that particular term there, but I do think that the key to making those kinds of, the exploration of those human truths stand out from other trauma horror movies that have done it in the past is the idea of the hand and what it
Mhm,
does to someone. So
mhm.
I think that's still what makes the second half of the movie stand out. But taking that idea, because it really does all hinge on Mia's journey and Mia's arc and how she responds to all this, that kind of leads us into the ending. So my big question for you is, Mia goes back to the hospital,
Right.
she gets Riley.
Hmm.
Do you think that she threw herself in front of the cars as a sacrifice to save him, or did Jade get there in time and push her to save her brother?
I think Jade pushed her. The way that I read it and the way that I left the theater thinking and the way Mia's decisions, as you described already, the way all that stuff was leading, I'm on team Jade pushed her. Absolutely. Jade did what she knew she had to do, and she saw what Mia was going to do. And that was Jade.
So if you ask me this question on different days, depending on my mood, I might reach for the positive and say
Mhm.
that Mia was so shocked by what she realized she did to her father that she was just like hell bent on doing whatever she could to make sure she didn't do that to somebody else. But after multiple viewings and knowing what that character arc like was building towards, it does seem most likely that she was pushed.
Jade pushed her.
Jade pushed her. Mia, over the course of the film, never learned her lesson. She got caught up in the trickery of this hand and its ability to make her think she was staying connected to her mother, and
Mhm.
she lost everything in the process. And
Yeah.
now she is stuck in this other realm, and perhaps a future Talk to Me movie
Oh
could
yeah.
could complete her character arc in a positive way. Like, one of the ideas that I've had for a potential sequel is that not necessarily the group featured in the end of the movie, but we just meet another group of characters who have access to this hand,
Yeah.
and when they say talk to me, maybe they get themselves into some trouble, but eventually they connect with Mia, and Mia has learned from the mistakes of her own past and helps them break that connection and save them from what she dealt with and what
I think
Riley dealt with in particular.
I think there could be a cool parallel to Rec 2, which uses Angela from the first film, and halfway through the sequel brings her back. And unfortunately, in Rec 2, Angela is not good. She is still possessed by the demon, as we all know, and stuff like that. So I think the parallel there could be bringing back, a Mia character, and like halfway through, all of a sudden, like you get that dopamine rush of like, oh my god, she's back. Like, but is she evil? Is she good? I think going good is like the way to tell that story, like you just said, and the redemption in the sequel to be like, yeah, I fucked up so much. And I think we're getting a sequel. I do believe we are going to get a sequel to this.
I would be absolutely
Yeah.
shocked if we didn't. I'm curious to see what a production timeline on something like that
Yeah.
could be, given the current situation.
Yeah.
We do know that the Filippo brothers are also attached to the new Street Fighter movie, which is a
Yeah.
studio production. That obviously can't happen, but maybe there are some other things in the Australian filmmaking industry that are allowed to happen right now. I'm not
Mhm.
entirely sure what the rules are, and and obviously it depends on what organization certain individuals are affiliated with, but a Talk to Me sequel slash franchise seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah,
A
I agree.
no-brainer. Can I ask you a question that the brothers asked me at Comic-Con? I kind of just revealed my answer.
Okay. One last question, because then we got to wrap it up and I gotta get
Okay.
lunch.
They asked me which route I would want them to go in with a sequel. If it's the idea of going with completely new characters using this hand, or if it does bring back the surviving characters from the first film.
I would want to see them come back. I think there's enough stories left to be told with what we know and the concept they've given us, where I want to see now how the characters come back, having seen what they've seen, been through what they've been through, and like their interactions with the hand versus new people. Like I think you need to have that dynamic of some of the surviving characters coming back and being like, yo, fuck that. Like that hand is done. We're done with that. And like new characters being like, oh, you're idiots. I don't know. What's just the game, stuff like that. I think that dynamic would be good to explore.
Yeah. I still think that only Mia coming back seems like the most logical thing in terms of continuing the story.
Mhm.
But I love those surviving characters so
Yeah,
much that I would not mind
they're great
seeing them
too.
return in the expert capacity.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I agree.
if not exploring the next chapter of their story. I mean, this is why I'm not a writer. I'm not creative enough to come up with what the next chapter of their story could be, but they are such interesting characters with such an appealing dynamic that it does
Yeah,
seem like there's probably something worth exploring there too.
I agree. I think that's and it will continue the story in the correct way. I think that is what I believe. Yeah.
And I saw someone write this earlier. Oh, here it is. Did this like actually happen? Because I'm buying a hand when it drops. I want that hand.
Rob was just telling me because so Rob is quoted on the trailer, and they made these "Talk to Me" shirts, and they put his quote on the back, but they like didn't attribute him at all. So it's like it's Rob Hunter's quote on the shirt for "Talk to Me," but like it doesn't say his name or anything like that, and it's kind of like, oh, fuck off, come on.
I want all the Talk to Me merch. Give me everything. Not to
Go on the
prolong this.
site.
I know you have to go,
Yeah.
but did you see the stunts that they did at San Diego
I
Comic-Con?
did, yeah. I saw you not even flinch.
Well, I mean, I walked into that room and I was just so excited to touch the hand and like to look look at it. Like the first thing I did when I got in that room with the hand is I purposely picked it up to look on the palm to see if it was screen accurate and poster accurate, and I saw the Hebrew on it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
this is exactly like that one. And then I was just so excited to hold it.
You looked at the demon, you're like, oh, hi.
Talk to me.